Hi, I'm Jill from the blog timeonourhands.com. Thanks for watching this video. Today I'm going to show you how I made this modern fireplace TV wall that looks like marble using faux marble laminate sheets. Let's get started. The first thing I did when I started building my TV fireplace wall was measure and come up with a plan. The living room wall where I built my fireplace TV wall has a couple different things going on with it. First of all, it has an off-center doorway, and second, it has a vaulted ceiling. I knew I wanted to take the fireplace TV wall all the way to the ceiling and use the distance from the vaulted ceiling peak to the doorway as my guide for how wide it was going to be. So I multiplied 27 by 2 to get the width of my fireplace wall. After that, I chose an electric fireplace insert. Then I applied painter's tape to the wall and floor to replicate the size of the wall, fireplace insert, and TV. I'm a visual learner, so this is helpful for me to understand how things will look when I'm done. I started this project by building the two side walls. I cut 2x4s to the size I needed using a miter saw. Then I used 2.5-inch wood screws to attach the long 2x4s in between the short ones to form a rectangle. Next, I used a stud finder to mark the studs inside the living room wall that I am attaching the fireplace wall to. Then I used a level to run a pencil line for where the studs should be. I attached the side walls of the TV fireplace wall to the living room wall studs with 3-inch screws. I started with the wall next to the doorway first, leaving at least 3/4-inch space between it and the doorway to account for the MDF and laminate that I'll be attaching to the exterior of this wall at the end. Then I used a 2x4 cut to the width of the fireplace, minus the two side walls, to make sure the two side walls were the correct distance apart, and attach the second side wall to the living room wall studs. The front wall frame was a little more complicated for me to build than the side walls because I needed a hole for the electric fireplace insert and to make sure that I had two 16-inch on-center 2x4s above it to mount my TV. I started by building a frame that would fit the front of my fireplace wall in between the two side walls I built in the last step. I cut more 2x4s to the size that I needed. Then I started creating another rectangle with 2x4s, screwing the long 2x4s in between the two shorter ones. Next, I built a hole for my fireplace insert out of 2x4s and added supports under the hole. At this point, I was feeling like I needed to get the framed wall squared up, so I placed it in between the side walls, attached the header 2x4 on top, and made sure it was square. After that, I attached my two 16-inch on-center 2x4s above the fireplace hole. Lastly, I screwed the front fireplace wall frame in between the two side walls. When I saw a marble TV fireplace wall on Pinterest and started trying to figure out how I could build a modern faux fireplace TV wall on a budget, I thought a lot about what I would use to get the look of marble. Then when I came up with the idea to use faux marble laminate sheets to build my modern fireplace TV wall, I thought a lot about how I was going to get the laminate on the wall. A few years ago, I used a great tutorial by the Craft Patch to make my own laminate countertop. So I already had a good idea of how to work with sheets of laminate, and I knew I couldn't just build a wall, cut the laminate, and attach it right to the assembled wall. I would need to attach MDF to my wall and then remove it as one piece so that I could glue the laminate to it, trim it, and then reinstall the wall. It took me a while to figure out how the heck I was going to attach MDF to a wall, take it off in one piece, and attach it back to the wall after I had laminated it. But this is what I ended up doing. First, using my Kreg AccuCut and Rip Cut tools and my circular saw, I cut pieces of MDF to fit the sides and front of the fireplace TV wall. Next, I screwed 2x2s to the wall frame 2x4s inside the fireplace. Then I marked where the 2x2s were using a level and a pencil and screwed from the outside of the fireplace the MDF to the 2x2s with 1.5 inch screws. This way, when I was ready to remove the MDF from the fireplace frame to apply the laminate sheets, it was all in one piece and lined up because the 2x2s were holding it together. And once I was done applying laminate to the MDF, I could easily reattach it to the fireplace using the 2x2s screwed into the original 2x4 frame walls. To apply laminate to the MDF, first I unscrewed the 2x2s inside the fireplace from the wall frames and had my husband help me pull the MDF and 2x2s off of the fireplace wall frames and carry them down to the garage. Next, using a circular saw, I cut my large laminate sheets down so that they were a closer size to the right, left, and front walls of the fireplace. Make sure your laminate piece is larger than your MDF so that you can get it lined up and glued on so it completely covers the MDF. You will trim the laminate in one of the next steps. I roughly cut my laminate sheets with at least an extra 2 inches on every side. I followed the instructions on the contact cement and applied it to the laminate sheet and the MDF using a foam roller. I used 2 coats applied 20 minutes apart. Once the contact cement was dry, I placed dowels on top of the MDF, and my husband helped me center the laminate sheet over the MDF. It is very important that you do not let the laminate and MDF that have glue applied touch until you have the laminate where you want it on the MDF. You will not be able to reposition the laminate on the MDF once the 2 glued sides have touched. Starting from the center, I removed the middle dowel and I used a J-roller to apply pressure to attach the laminate sheet to the MDF. Then I worked my way down to the ends using the same technique to get the laminate stuck to the MDF. Approximately 24 hours later, I trimmed the back and top and bottom edges of the laminate using a router with flush trim router bit. You'll see in the next step that I did not trim the front edges of the laminate until I got it installed back on the wall frames. Assembling the MDF laminate walls back onto the fireplace wall frames felt like the most tedious part of the project because I wanted to get the laminate trimmed as perfectly as possible so it would look like real marble. And once you cut laminate, you cannot uncut it. So since I couldn't trim the laminate at the top and bottom of the fireplace with the walls installed because the router would bump into the ceiling or floor, first, I put the sidewalls back on the wall frames and screwed the 2x2s back onto the wall frame. Then, I installed the front MDF wall onto the frame and marked where the front panel met the side panel laminate at the top and bottom. Then I removed all of the MDF laminate walls so I could use the router to trim the top and bottom laminate on the side walls. We used some scrap wood and clamps on the inside of the side wall as a guide for where it met up with the front wall. Turned the side wall back over and trimmed it with a router. We installed all of the MDF laminate walls and finished trimming the laminate with the walls installed. After that, I removed the front MDF wall to apply laminate to it, using the same technique as step 5. By the way, I forgot to mention before that before gluing the laminate and MDF together, I sanded off the extra MDF that had been pushed out near the screws and removed the dust with a vacuum and damp cloth. I applied contact cement to the laminate sheet and the MDF. Once the contact cement was dry, I placed dowels on top of the MDF and my husband helped me center the laminate sheet over the MDF. And then I used a J roller to apply pressure to attach the laminate sheet to the MDF. The next day, I trimmed the top and bottom of the front wall laminate, the holes for the fireplace insert and TV mount, and the top and bottom of the sides of the front wall with my router. Once the front wall was screwed back onto the fireplace, I finished trimming the edges of the laminate with my router. Then we installed the electric fireplace insert and the wall TV mount. And this is what it looks like right now. You'll see as we get up closer on the edge that I did add a bead, a very thin line of white caulk on the seam between the side and front wall, a piece of laminate. What I did was I put down painter's tape very close on each side of the seams, and then I scraped it or smoothed it with a caulk tool and removed the tape while it was still wet. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of what Larissa and I have been making recently, check out one of these videos. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below and I'll get right back to you. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.